This is my first attempt at drawing Yatora from Blue Period. It looks like something straight out of Little Nightmares. And this is my second attempt after studying and practicing for 30 days. This video is about documenting my progress and hopefully inspiring others in the same way I was inspired. So, we know there are hundreds or thousands of videos out there about the progress achieved in 30 days of drawing. I'm hoping this will be a bit different from all of those, and hopefully some of you will relate to the journey. For the longest time, I've been dreaming of learning how to draw to tell my own stories in the form of animation, illustration books, or even video games. I wanted to commit myself into making those dreams come true, and the first step to do so is learning how to draw. Like thousands or millions of people out there who wants to get started on drawing, I looked up courses, YouTube videos, articles, tutorials, literally all kinds of resources, but for the love of everything that is artistic and creative, I just couldn't get my head around where to start. Some people would say practice line art, others draw stills from real life, others try to learn perspective and basic shapes. I have no idea how to do any of this, and I had no idea how would I know that the things I'm practicing are actually making me better. I bought an iPad like 3 years ago to practice on Procreate, and that was one of my biggest mistakes. I thought spending a bunch of money on it would have me committed to study consistently, and I was so overwhelmed by not knowing where to begin that I ended up using the iPad for nothing but watching YouTube and Netflix. I basically use it as a secondary screen. That was until recently that I discovered the holiest of the holies of art tutorials for beginners, the lost treasure every aspiring artist needs to watch when they are starting out. A 30-day course by none other than the amazing, fantastic, unbelievable.
Oh, you again. Welcome back. Oh no.
I saw a video by Marc Brunet titled Learn to Draw in 30 Days. But not only that, I also watched another one called Learn to Draw Faces in 30 Days. I got excited. I felt a rush of motivation and immediately watched both videos. That said, I was still a bit skeptical. I've seen a lot of similar videos before where other art YouTubers explain what you should start with, but even after watching those 15-20 minute videos, I still didn't know where to start. A few minutes into Marc Brunet's videos, I realized this was different. This was exactly what I was looking for. It was a well-structured beginner course that gave me clear daily tasks to practice, while also explaining how each assignment actually improves your drawing skills. It felt like an outstanding starting point for someone like me. I decided to follow both the Draw in 30 Days and Draw Faces in 30 Days videos at the same time, doing one assignment from each every day. That's how I chose to move forward. None of the tasks felt overwhelming, but they were just challenging enough for a complete beginner like me to stay engaged and want to do better the next day. To completely fulfill this 30-day schedule, I grounded myself with some rules. And first of all, I lied. I did not complete them in 30 days sharp. It took me a little bit more, and I'll explain why. The first rule I set for myself was this: if I missed a day, I wouldn't beat myself up or pressure myself about it. I decided to accept that sometimes, for whatever reason, I might not draw. Whether I didn't have time or just didn't feel like it, instead of stressing about it, I'd simply do my best to show up the next day. Sometimes, when we feel that huge rush of inspiration and motivation to learn something new, we set insane expectations and schedules that are unrealistic or exhausting. And when the day comes, because it will come, where you're very tired, you don't have time, something happened, or you just can't focus, we start making excuses like, this is too demanding right now, or I don't have the energy or time for this. When in reality, it's not entirely true. It might be true that you don't have the energy or time to keep up with the crazy schedule you set for yourself, But there's a much better chance you'll follow through with a plan that actually fits your current availability. Being compassionate with yourself when you miss a day is essential. I'll never get anywhere if I beat myself up and lose motivation every time that happens. And if you look at even the biggest artists, many of them don't draw every single day. Some go weeks without touching a pencil. So accepting the fact from even before day one that you might miss a day or a few will make your journey so much easier and lightweight. Your inner peace will thank you greatly. Another rule I set for myself was to adapt my drawing time around my schedule, not the other way around. That meant choosing a time of day that felt realistic and easy to repeat consistently, around 6 p.m. in my case. By then, most of my work was done and I had very few other responsibilities, so I tried to protect that time window. But if 6 p.m. came and I still had things to do, I felt tired or just wasn't in the right mood, I would move that session to later in the night, fully accepting and warning myself that I might not draw that day at all. No beating myself up. Unexpected things happen, and that's nobody's fault. Some of those busy days, I drew for less time and I still counted it as progress. A lot of people approach this differently. They set a fixed hour, let's say 6 p.m. like me, and sit down to draw at that exact time every day, no matter what, even if they still have 1,000 things to do, unfinished work, or other responsibilities pulling at them. That doesn't work for me. I know I'll sit down and try to draw, but my mind turns into a beehive, constantly thinking about everything else I still need to do. I get anxious. I don't enjoy the drawing process. I was practicing while listening to the Witcher audiobook, but I wouldn't even pay attention to it anymore. In those cases, I'd much rather move the session to later or skip it entirely and come back the next day. You can experiment with both approaches, but for me personally, I enjoy drawing much more and feel far more relaxed when I know that time is 100% dedicated to drawing and nothing else. And the last rule I set for myself, this is probably one of the most common rules you'll hear in videos like this, but I want to approach it from a slightly different angle. For some people, avoiding comparison is genuinely really hard. If you've been drawing for 3 months and you see someone else who's been drawing for the same amount of time but seems better, it's very easy to get discouraged. Negative thoughts start creeping into your head that you're not good enough, that you never will be. For some people, it's almost impossible not to ask questions like, why are they better than me if we started at the same time? The truth is, you might never find a clear answer to that, and there's really no point in spending your energy, mental health, and time trying to figure that out instead of continuing to practice or study. If this is something you struggle with, it's much healthier to accept a simple fact. Everyone learns at different speeds, and comparisons doesn't have to be harmful. It can even be motivating. What matters is how you compare. Don't use comparison to make yourself feel less. You're allowed to look at others' work as long as your mindset is focused on learning and analyzing what you can take from it, not on tearing yourself down. This is more or less how my 4 weeks of drawing went down. As I mentioned before, the entire 30-day course by Marc Brunet is fairly easy and very beginner-friendly, so it makes sense that the simplest shapes and exercises appear at the beginning. Before starting the course though, I tried to make a drawing on my own to see if anything would improve. As you can see, it was a complete mess. I had watched so many videos of artists using these phase guidelines, but I never really understood how they worked. I tried to imitate them anyway. At some point, I just thought, okay, that's enough. I clearly have no idea what I'm doing. And that's when I decided to start the course properly from day one. At the beginning, the course didn't demand much from me, so I was honestly happy just drawing circles for the first few days. That changed around day 6, where the exercises become a little bit trickier. Still, I was having fun. It was challenging, but manageable. And that's the overall feeling I had throughout the entire 30-day course. By the second week, I had already found a comfortable time of the day, so I could give my full attention to drawing. I had missed a couple of days of practice, but that didn't really stop me or demotivate me. Just like I mentioned in rule number 1, I wasn't going to let missing 1 or 2 days kill my drive to keep learning. Some of the exercises were still focused on drawing circles, but with small changes and added difficulty. Both the regular 30-day course and the Draw Faces course complemented each other really well. Around day 9, we started drawing more face-like shapes, and honestly, around week 3, that's when my real engagement began. This is where, at the end of one of the daily tasks, I stopped and thought, did I really draw that? It was such a cool feeling. I was already committed to finishing the 30 days, but after seeing this, I felt genuinely happy with how I was starting to understand how drawing works and how to see things differently. It stopped being about copying what I see and became more about understanding how something is constructed, almost like a 2D Lego piece. You look at an object and start choosing the right pieces to build it. And even though I am not nearly as skilled enough to draw the same way Marc does in the video, I was excited about how my brain was learning to observe things. Looking at some of these drawings, I was like, yes, this is so much fun. Except for this one. This one was freaking hard, and I don't even know why. Anyway, for some exercises, I did use Procreate's feature where you hold the pencil and it turns your line into a perfect circle or straight line. I don't use it much anymore, but at the beginning, it was a helpful and fun tool to use, as long as you don't rely on it completely. I still made sure to practice drawing circles and lines on my own, which actually brings me to something I forgot to mention earlier. I found this warm-up sheet online that I used every day before doing Marc's task. I found it through someone on YouTube, but unfortunately, the sheet doesn't have a name and I can't find the original video or channel. If you know where it's from, please let me know in the comments. Now, by week 4, I honestly wished it would never end. The pace felt perfect, the difficulty increased just a little each day, and I was learning so much while actually having fun, especially in the Draw Faces course. Around day 19, I started to really understand proportions and how guidelines are actually used. That's when I noticed a clear improvement compared to my previous attempt at drawing Yatora. Even though I didn't want it to end, I kept going and eventually reached the finish line. I couldn't believe what I had drawn. The final day of the drawing course focuses on drawing a skull, and the final day of the Draw Faces course, a girl specifically. I was honestly blown away and surprised at how achievable it felt to follow the course all the way through. I did miss a few days along the way, so it took me a bit longer than exactly 30 days to finish. But if anything, that just proves you don't need perfect, rigid consistency to make progress. You can allow yourself some rest, make the process enjoyable, and still see real meaningful improvement. After finishing the skull and the girl drawings from day 30, it was time to go back to Yatora Yaguchi.
お前なら平和を作るため、この憎しみとどう向き合う。
I can clearly see a lot of mistakes and it's far from accurate when compared to the original, but considering this was my first attempt after just 1 month of practice, compared to my attempt before taking the course, I was extremely happy. It made me even more motivated to keep studying, and honestly, I think the biggest difference came from the rules I set at the beginning. Having control over the environment where I practiced made the process much easier and more enjoyable. Not asking too much of myself when I missed a day, while still keeping the intention to show up and finish the challenge, was also a huge factor. I genuinely believe that not giving these sort of things the importance they deserve is why so many people struggle to stay consistent with new goals. People often expect perfection from themselves when they're just starting, but motivation alone can only take you so far, and unrealistic expectations can stop you even faster. That's why having the right mindset matters. Not a hustle or grind mindset, but an understanding of how habits are actually built and maintained. And if you want to learn more about that, I recently made a video about building consistent habits. Everything I talk about there is based on the same ideas and practical exercises I used to complete this 30-day challenge. And I'm sure it'll be helpful for you too. I hope there's something you can take from watching my process that helps you start your own journey in a healthier way. As I said in the beginning of the video, I want to make animated short films, books, or video games. Keeping those dreams inside is a huge motivation to keep me going too. And what is your dream? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks everyone for making it until here and watch my whole process. I will give another update in a few months. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this and mental health for artists. Keep creating and keep on keeping on.